All right, everyone. Buckle up because the iPhone 16 Pro, it's finally here. Well, sort of.
Sort of is right.
We've been digging into all the early reviews and reactions, and let me tell you, there's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, it wouldn't be an iPhone launch without a healthy dose of hype now, would it?
This time, though, it feels different.
Different good or different wait and see?
That's what we're here to figure out. We're calling this deep dive iPhone 16 Pro. Worth the hype. Because, honestly, some of those headline features, not even here yet.
It's true. A lot riding on those future software updates, especially Apple Intelligence. But for those of you who just can't wait to get your hands on the latest and greatest,
Or you just want to know what all the fuss is about, we've got you. We'll break down the biggest takeaways, the good, the bad, and the wait what moments.
and trust me, there are a few of those.
Let's start with what everyone's obsessing over. That camera. Specifically, this new control button has everyone talking.
It's like they're trying to bridge the gap between a traditional camera and a smartphone.
Yeah, so instead of all the tapping and swiping on the screen, you've got this physical button. Hard press for a photo, a light press for settings, you can even swipe on it to zoom.
They're even planning a two-stage shutter button in a later update.
Two-stage shutter, explain it to me like I'm 5. I read about it, but I'm not sure I get it.
So think about those old school cameras, right?
Okay, got it.
You gently press down to get the focus and exposure just right. Then you push all the way to snap the picture. This button will work that way, give you that extra level of control, especially in tricky lighting.
Okay, that makes sense. But will casual users like me actually use it, or is it more for serious photographers?
It's definitely a pro feature, but hey, you never know. You might surprise yourself. The important thing is that it's there if you need it. And the fact that it's supposed to work with third-party apps is a big win for the techies out there.
I did notice in some reviews people were saying the button felt a little stiff.
Yeah, it seems like even Apple is still figuring out the ergonomics of all this. How do you add more features, more controls, without making the phone uncomfortable to hold?
Exactly. Because what good is a cool feature if it's a pain to actually use?
Right. But, button quirks aside, the real test is in the photos themselves, and that's where things get really interesting.
Because they've really upped their game with these photographic styles.
Yeah.
Photographic styles. So are we talking like fancy filters here? What's the deal?
Think of it more like presets, but with a whole lot more control.
Okay, so like I can still choose warm, cool, vivid, all that.
Exactly. You've got your familiar options, but the real game changer is the customization. They're giving you sliders to fine-tune things like tone, warmth, even skin tones. And get this, you can apply these styles even after you've taken the photo.
After the fact. Interesting. I did see some buzz about this tone control, something about how it plays with HDR.
Ah, yes. This is what's got the photo geeks excited. See, HDR, high dynamic range, iPhones are known for, well, going a little heavy on it sometimes.
Yeah, like when the shadows look kind of fake or everything's just super bright.
Exactly. But this new tone control, it lets you dial back that HDR effect, get a more natural, less processed look. One reviewer said it's a game changer for realistic iPhone photos.
See, that I can get behind. As much as I love a good filter, sometimes I just want my photos to look, real.
And that actually taps into a bigger conversation happening right now. What is a photo in the age of smartphones? Is it about capturing reality perfectly or using tech to create your own style?
Whoa, deep. Now my phone's having an existential crisis about photography.
Right. But it's a valid question. This move from Apple giving us more control over tone and style suggests maybe there's no one right way to process an image anymore. It's all about personal preference.
Okay, you're making me rethink my whole Instagram aesthetic now. But before I spiral, let's talk about the pros. Are these photographic styles going to replace professional editing software, or is it more for us casual folks?
It's a great question. For serious photographers, there are a few things to consider. Editing these styles directly on the image means you're dealing with larger file sizes. And while you can adjust styles after shooting, it might not be ideal for those huge editing batches.
So not quite ready to ditch Lightroom just yet.
Exactly. But for everyday users who just want more creative control over their iPhone photography,
Yeah.
it's a huge step forward.
Okay, that makes sense. But let's not forget about video. This phone can shoot some pretty impressive footage. We're talking 4K resolution at 120 frames per second.
Oh yeah, get ready for some seriously epic slow motion.
Right. I kind of want to go shoot a documentary now just to try it out. But high frame rate, high resolution, that usually means massive file sizes. Did the reviews mention anything about storage space?
They did. One reviewer even pointed out that While the quality is stunning, shooting at that 120 frames per second in 4K will eat through your storage pretty quickly.
The price we pay for beautiful slow-mo footage, I guess. But hey, at least we'll have crystal clear audio to go with it, right? I read something about improved audio processing.
3 new audio modes, actually. Standard, cinematic, and in-frame. They're supposed to give you more control over how your videos sound, but the reviews were, well, a little mixed on how much of a difference they actually make.
Not the audio revolution we were hoping for then.
Potentially useful, sure, but based on what we've seen, not a total game changer. Now, on top of all this, you've got the usual upgrades we see every year. Brighter display, faster processor, longer battery life. The stuff Apple's always tweaking.
Solid upgrades, but not exactly mind-blowing. So the real question is this the phone to beat, or are we looking at more of an evolution than a revolution?
The million-dollar question, right. And the answer, like always, is a little complicated.
Hit me with your expert analysis. What are we thinking?
Well, spec-wise, this phone is a beast. That new A18 chip is incredibly fast.
But like we said, a lot of those big AI features are still MIA, waiting on software updates.
Exactly. And that brings us to the big question.
So should we be running out to pre-order this thing or pumping the brakes a little? Is the iPhone 16 Pro worth the hype right here, right now?
If you're the kind of person who always has to have the latest and greatest, the shiniest new gadget the second it drops, then yeah, the iPhone 16 Pro is seriously impressive. You're going to love it.
But for those of us who are maybe a little more, practical, budget conscious.
Yeah, that's where it gets a little trickier.
Because it does feel like some of the most exciting stuff is still to come with those software updates.
Exactly. If you got last year's iPhone 15 Pro, this upgrade might feel a little underwhelming, especially given the price. And let's not forget about the regular iPhone 16. Still a great phone with impressive specs at a lower price point. Could be a contender.
So many choices. This is why I love doing these deep dives with you. You cut through all the noise and help me figure out what really matters.
Happy to help.
But I do have to ask, this whole Apple Intelligence thing, the thing that's supposed to be this game changer, is it going to live up to the hype, or is this a wait-and-see situation?
Honestly, we'll have to wait and see. The potential is there, but the jury's still out on whether Apple can deliver on those promises.
It does feel like we're looking at a puzzle with a few pieces missing, right? We can see the potential, but the full picture is still a bit fuzzy.
A perfect way to put it. And that's what makes this so exciting. And maybe a little frustrating, too.
Yeah, will Apple Intelligence really change how we use our phones? Only time will tell.
Exactly.
Well, I guess we'll just have to do another deep dive when those features finally drop and really put it to the test.
Sounds like a plan. But for
now, do your research.
exactly. Read those reviews, think about what really matters to you in a phone, and make an informed decision.
Because knowledge is power, my friends, especially in the ever-changing world of tech. Until next time, happy researching, and may your next tech purchase be your best one yet.